All right, so picture this. You've spent like your whole life building this incredible art collection, right? You're surrounded by these masterpieces. It's your legacy. And then one morning, bam, gone, vanished.
Just like that.
Yeah, that's the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist for you. Still unsolved all these years later.
And what makes it so fascinating, I think, is not just how bold it was, but the fact that these paintings, they just vanished, they haven't resurfaced. Like, did they disappear into thin air?
Right. It makes you wonder about the level of planning, the secrecy.
Absolutely. It's both intriguing and incredibly frustrating at the same time, especially for anyone trying to crack this case.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing today. We're going deep, deep into this whole thing, all the twists and turns. We've got this comprehensive write-up timeline, key players, the whole 9 yards.
Feels like a wild ride.
Oh, it is. And we're not just going to rehash the facts, okay? We're digging into the why.
The why is always the most interesting part.
I think so, too. So were these guys, like, art experts? Did they know what they were taking? What's the deal with the Boston Mafia? Everyone says they're involved.
Yeah, and the big question, could these paintings still be out there somewhere?
Somewhere, hiding in plain sight.
It's a mystery that has haunted investigators for decades, for sure. And as we go through this, you'll see just how complex and multi-layered this case really is.
Oh, yeah, it's not a simple open and shut kind of thing. So rewind with me. Early 1990s Boston. The museum, they were having some money troubles, right?
That's right.
And they had done some security upgrades, but there were still weak spots. It's almost like an invitation for someone who knew what they were doing.
Yeah, you got to remember, back then, museums, they weren't seen as, like, high-security places. The tech wasn't as good, and places like the Gardner, this beautiful old building.
I didn't want to mess with the look of it.
Exactly. Changes were expensive, and there was this concern about, preserving the aesthetic.
And wouldn't you know it, this all goes down on, get this, St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Oh, wow.
City's alive, everyone's out celebrating. There were even 2 guys dressed as police officers seen near the museum that night.
But nobody batted an eye?
Nope. It was just part of the scenery.
It's crazy how they blended right in. That's what makes it so brilliant, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
They picked a night where no one would be suspicious, use that festive atmosphere to their advantage.
Playing on that whole trust we have for law enforcement, you know?
Absolutely. Audacious doesn't even begin to describe it.
No, it doesn't. So inside the museum, you've got 2 guards. Richard O'Bath, he's the regular night guy, and Randy Hestan.
Randy Hestan.
Yeah, a rookie. First night on the job. Talk about trial by fire.
It really makes you think about their security back then. Was a rookie, even with training, ready for something like this?
Especially on a night like that, right?
Exactly. Anything could happen.
So it's 1:20 in the morning. These police officers, they buzz the door. They tell Abath there's a disturbance. And get this, Abath, he actually sees them on the CCTV.
He sees them.
Yeah, but he thinks maybe some drunk dude hopped the fence or something. So he buzzes them in.
Wow. It's almost like they, hypnotized him or something. Exploiting that trust we automatically have for authority figures.
Right. Like, even if he had a bad feeling, he probably felt like he had to cooperate.
Absolutely. Classic manipulation tactic.
And just like that, they're in. Took them, what, less than 15 minutes to get both guards? Duct tape, handcuffs, the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this weird detail.
Yeah.
They were efficient, yeah, but not brutal.
Not brutal.
Yeah. They even asked the guards if they were comfortable.
Really?
Yeah, it's like they were trying to avoid any unnecessary,
Violence.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. It makes you wonder about their motive. Like, maybe they didn't want to hurt anyone. Or maybe it was some kind of code they had,
Yeah, like a rule. We're professionals. We don't rough people up.
Exactly. It definitely adds another layer to the whole thing.
Like they were following a script or something. But here's where things get really strange. Okay, they knew exactly where to go for the most valuable stuff.
You'd think they'd be art experts then.
You think. But their choices, they're bizarre. They skipped over some major masterpieces, even took a guy that's basically worthless.
A guy. What's a guy?
It's like, a banner, I think, used in ceremonies. Not exactly a Rembrandt,
Okay, yeah. Not exactly a hot ticket item on the black market.
So why take it? There are a couple theories. One is maybe they had a specific list. Someone told them what to grab.
So they were working for someone else?
Maybe. Or maybe they had a limit on what they could carry. Like they couldn't fit a giant painting in their getaway car.
Makes sense. Or
Yeah.
could it be they didn't actually know art that well?
You're saying maybe they were just grabbing whatever looked valuable.
Could be. Like they saw gold frames, fancy names, didn't really understand the nuances of the collection.
So either a super organized operation or...
A bunch of clueless crooks.
Exactly. And the way they took the paintings, it kind of backs that up. They cut the storm on the Sea of Galilee, the Vermeer, right out of its frame, damaged it.
No, not the Vermeer.
Yeah, not exactly what you'd expect from art-loving professionals. And then think about how they left. They took the videotapes, but they left the motion detector data.
Interesting. It's like almost sloppy.
Right. So were they trying to be clever, or were they just amateurs?
It's the kind of detail that has kept this case alive for so long.
Yeah.
It's those little contradictions that make it so fascinating.
Totally. And believe me, that's just the beginning. We've got a whole lineup of suspects, theories. But before we get to all that, what do you think so far? What sticks out to you?
It really makes you think, like how does something like this even happen?
And as we get deeper into this whole investigation thing, it just gets crazier.
Oh, yeah. The intrigue definitely ramps up.
So in a case this big, there were bound to be a ton of suspects, right? And one of the first people they looked at was, well, Richard Abath, the guard who let him in.
Makes sense, I guess. I mean, he opened the door, right?
He did. And then there's the whole Ches Tortoni thing. That was stolen from the exact room he was supposed to be patrolling.
So either he was super unlucky or maybe something else was going on. Could he have been forced to do it? Threatened, maybe?
That's what the investigators thought, yeah. They also looked into, his pay. He didn't make a lot, especially with the museum's money problems.
So maybe he was tempted, needed some extra cash.
It's interesting, right? At those two things, the museum's finances and Abath's possible involvement, they're kind of linked.
Totally. It's like another piece of the puzzle. And speaking of puzzle pieces, we can't forget about Whitey Bulger, right?
Oh, man. Whitey Bulger.
Yeah.
Boston mob boss extraordinaire.
His name pretty much meant organized crime back then.
So naturally, everyone thought he was involved.
It's like that cliche, big art heist, must be the mob.
But was there any proof?
Well, Bulger's influence could explain the police uniforms, that's for sure. And there were even rumors about the IRA being involved somehow, which is just wild.
International art heist conspiracy.
Right. But as far as hard evidence linking Bulger or his crew, nothing solid.
So maybe the obvious answer isn't always the right one.
Sometimes the simplest explanation is that there is no simple explanation.
Deep, man. But just when you thought it couldn't get weirder, they get this letter in 1994.
A letter.
Yeah, this is where it gets juicy. Tell me about this letter.
Okay, so picture this. Someone claiming to be a negotiator for the thieves, they contact the museum. They say they'll give the art back, but they want $2.6 million and immunity.
Whoa. Ballsy move.
Right. And to prove they were legit, they even used this code that was printed in the Boston Globe.
So it wasn't just some random cram.
Nope. They were serious.
Did the museum, consider it? Paying them?
They did, yeah. It was a chance, right, to get the paintings back. But after a little back and forth, the negotiator, poof, disappeared.
No way.
Yeah, no trace.
So frustrating. All that hope just dashed.
It happens a lot with these kinds of cases,
Yeah.
You're dealing with people who live in the shadows. Deception, manipulation, that's their game.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of strange characters, remember Brian McDevitt, the guy who, wanted to be a famous art thief?
Oh, yeah, McDevitt. His methods were eerily similar, weren't they?
Super similar, but no proof he was actually involved in the Gardner thing.
Right. So another dead end. But it seems like every time we turn around, we're bumping into organized crime again. What happened with that side of the investigation?
Well, in 2013, the FBI, they dropped this bombshell.
A bombshell.
Yeah. They said they knew who the thieves were.
They finally cracked it.
Hold on. There's a twist. They believed they knew, is what they actually said.
Okay. Bully, what's the catch?
The catch is the guys they identified, all dead.
What? So they knew all along. Why wait so long to say something?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Some people say the FBI was playing the long game, hoping to recover the paintings. Others think maybe internal politics. Who knows?
It just adds to the mystery, huh?
Totally. So who were these mystery men, and what did they have to do with the Merlino gang?
Two names. They really stand out. Robert Guarente.
Corrente.
Yeah, he died in 2004. But he was tight with the Merlino gang and his widow. She claimed he had the paintings at one point.
No way. So the paintings really were with the mob. What happened to him?
That's where things get messy. Guarente's widow, she said he gave them to another guy before he died. Robert Gentile.
So Gentile, who was the key, did he have the paintings?
Well, Gentile, he was alive when the FBI made their announcement. And he denied everything. Said he knew nothing about the heist, nothing about the paintings, but his story and how he acted
Mm.
didn't exactly make him look innocent.
Okay, what do you mean? Like, how did he act?
Gentile, he was a real character, shady past, and during the investigation, he was shifty. Like, he said he didn't remember getting the paintings from Guerrente, but then there were all these rumors, a secret basement at his place.
Juicy.
Right. And supposedly there was a newspaper clipping listing black market prices for the stolen art, that kind of thing. Super suspicious.
So either he was playing everyone or he got in way over his head. Did the FBI buy his story?
Not even a little bit. They searched his property, but no paintings. And to make it even weirder, there was another guy connected to the Merlino gang, David Turner. He had a super convenient alibi for the night of the heist.
Convenient how?
He said he was in Florida.
Of course he was.
Right. Like, come on. So was it just a coincidence or was he trying way too hard?
If you're gonna lie, lie big.
Exactly. The FBI weren't buying it either. Turner, he became a prime suspect, along with another associate, George Reisfelder. And Reisfelder, get this, he had something that looked a lot like Ches Tortoni in his apartment.
Wait, really? So they were close to cracking the case?
It seemed like it, yeah. But then Reisfelder, he dies in '91, takes whatever secrets he had with him. And Turner, even though the FBI caught him in a sting operation later on, he always said he had nothing to do with the Gardner heist.
Another dead end. It's like every time we get close, the trail goes cold. We're back to square one.
Well, not exactly. Every lead, even the ones that don't lead to the art, they teach us something. About art theft, about how organized crime works.
It's a puzzle.
A big, messy puzzle. We might not have the whole picture yet, but every piece helps us understand what happened.
Okay, you've got me hooked. What's the next piece then?
All right, buckle up. This one involves another art thief, and it might just connect some of the dots we've been seeing.
Okay, I'm all ears. Hit me with it.
Remember Miles Connor Jr., the guy whose methods were like almost a copycat of the Gardner case?
Yeah. What about him?
So Connor, he's in jail, right? And he starts talking. Says Bobby Donati and David Houghton, they were the brains behind the Gardner heist.
Hold on, another art thief pointing fingers. Is that like a thing they do?
Maybe. Haha. But Connor, he'd worked with Donati before. Claimed they even cased the Gardner Museum together back in the day.
Together, so they were buddies.
So he says, and get this, he thinks they pulled off the heist to, like, trade the art for his freedom.
Wait, what? Like a hostage situation, but with paintings?
Yeah, it sounds crazy, right? But Connor, he had a history of using stolen art as a bargaining chip.
So it's not totally out there. And this Donati guy, any connection to the Merlino gang?
Oh, yeah. He was definitely in their circle. Which makes Connor's story even more interesting, don't you think?
It's like everyone in this case is tied to organized crime somehow.
Right. It's a tangled web.
Yeah.
And just when you thought it couldn't get more complicated, we got to talk about William P. Youngworth, antique dealer, and his story. Almost too wild to believe.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What's this guy's deal?
He said he had the paintings. He even showed one to a reporter.
No way.
Yeah, in a warehouse, secret meeting, the whole 9 yards.
Like a scene from a movie?
Exactly. Youngworth, he described the storm on the Sea of Galilee perfectly. Even had paint chips to prove it.
So they almost had the paintings back. Why didn't it happen?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The paint chips. They didn't match. Turned out he was bluffing.
So close. So was he just a con man then? Or did he actually have access to the paintings at some point?
Another mystery. Some people think he was playing everyone, trying to get that reward money. Others, they think maybe he was a middleman. Had the paintings for a while, but couldn't figure out what to do with them.
Either way, it's a dead end. But it does tell us something, right? The paintings were out there moving around in the criminal world.
Exactly. And you know that phone call to Vincent Ferrara, Donati's boss. They talked about Donati visiting Ferrara in prison right before the heist. There was this hint of a plan to break Ferrara out.
So maybe the heist was part of a bigger plan to bust Ferrara out of the slammer.
Could be. It fits with Connor's story, too, right? That they stole the art to trade for his freedom.
It always circles back to organized crime, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The Gardner heist, it's not just about stolen art. It's like a window into this whole world. Art theft, the mob, it's all connected.
It's been a wild ride. Bumbling guards, mob bosses, secret letters, hidden warehouses. And still, after all this time, we don't know for sure who did it.
It's what makes this case so fascinating, right? It's a mystery that just keeps on giving. Those paintings, they're out there somewhere, waiting to be found.
It really makes you think. Imagine you get a tip about the paintings. What would you do? Go for the reward money. Or try to return them quietly, no questions asked.
Tough choice. Money or doing the right thing.
The gardener heist. It sticks with you long after the story's over, makes you wonder about the choices people make, what they value.
And how some mysteries, maybe they're meant to stay unsolved.
Maybe they are. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. It's a case that keeps you guessing, and who knows, maybe someday those paintings will finally resurface.